For Wisconsin, we have Joe Nestler. Joe is the Chief Engineer of WisDOT and the Administrator of the Division of Transportation Systems Development.
But what a pleasure to be here. And when I was asked, did I have a PowerPoint presentation, if you knew how hard it was for me not to have one and to have some of our other folks speak. Asset management is kind of what I live for at the DOT. And this is really excited to see so many of our folks here because we're doing something that I think is novel in the department. We've always had an asset management system, and what I'm proud to say is an excellent one. But it was at a planning level. So it was produced more at a planning level and was kind of a rudimentary guide for our engineers to use to help program from. And we always set a responsible starting point. Well, we're going a step further, a giant step further. We formed an asset management office in the engineering division, which is where I live, that is designed to take the planning level data and put it into projects, convert it to project level. So we're pushing out 350 projects a year. And so kind of esoteric asset management guidance doesn't do you any good when you have to make a decision on which 350 projects to do, where you do them, and what the appropriate scope is. So we have, and I'm not seeing our FHWA administrators here, which is unfortunate because they have been instrumental working with us side by side. I'd like to recognize Tom Beekman, if he'd raise his hand. There's Tom. Tom is a leader of one of our leaders in the asset management office for implementation. And we have created, so how do you do 350 projects? This talk of planning level to project level. Well, you've got to bring it into your facilities development manual. And so Tom and a gentleman named Brian Gaber, first time I've referred to him as a gentleman, have led an effort where we have changed our facilities development manual to support the implementation of asset management. And it's really leveraging two things: performance-based practical design, which is really what good asset management does. It's actually, I would call pavement preservation a performance-based practical design, certainly an overlap. And we have a certification process for safety. So I won't go into the details, but it's a template for us to take a data-driven approach into the project world so that we get return on investment. And when we model data, the return on investment is huge versus a traditional approach. Every benchmark system health metric, our system markedly outperforms a null traditional alternative. So we're excited about it. We're putting it into practice in a major way at the department. Tom's going to talk a little bit about this. He'll be here today and tomorrow. Feel free to ask him questions. We've got Dave Frederick sitting over here. I work with Dave in the planning area in investment management for over 10 years. He wrote he and I put the logic together for pavement management system. He wrote all the code. So without that, so that gave us the foundation to move on. FHWA, I mentioned their partnership. They get asset management here in Wisconsin, and they've been instrumental in helping us get our design guides changed. We also have industry partners. We have our Concrete Pavement Association, our Asphalt Pavement Association, earth movers, transportation builders, that we're not at this alone. So as we're going into new areas, they're also lending their expertise to help us make sure that we trek close to true north. Looking at the agenda, it looks terrific. And Todd said something. He said, be sure and take something with you. And about 10 years ago, Katie, you were there, was in Virginia, a pavement management conference. I stopped by. The National Center of Pavement Preservation had a booth. Larry Galehouse was there, and I see his son is working the registrations today. And I picked up a 100-page book. at the crossroads, preserving our highway investment. A guy named John O'Doherty wrote it under sponsorship of the National Center of Pavement Preservation. And this was, what a resource. It talks about pavement preservation. Why do you do it? Because the sum of the life cycle costs of the preservation activities are less than the sum of the life cycle costs of major rehab activities. And more important than that, if a dummy like me told my colleagues, hey, this is a good idea, and mathematically it works, you know, I'm just a dummy. I'm just another person. But if I use the examples from the National Center of Pavement Preservation, all of a sudden the ideas had credibility. So I have for 10 years been using some examples of why, from a remaining life standpoint, pavement preservation is a good idea. And anyway, so worth the price of admission. I hope you pick up something equally valuable today. Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.